Alright guys, so normally I'm not going to go straight through the exact worksheet that we did in class, but for this first test, everything we did up until this first test, I'm actually going to recap exactly what we did in class, every single worksheet, okay? So this worksheet, it's focusing on solving for y and then graphing a linear equation. So if we're ever going to graph a linear equation, you have to solve for y. So if we look at number 1 here, we need to get this positive 2y by itself before we can get y by itself in general. So I'm going to subtract. I'm going to start off by getting rid of everything on that side of the equation and moving it to the other. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 4x from this side because that's a positive 4x, so I need to get rid of that by subtracting 4x and subtract 4x from both sides, right? It's an equation. You have to keep it equal. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So these 4x's are going to cancel each other out. I'm going to have 2y come down equals, now these are two separate things. One has an x and the other doesn't. So I leave it as two separate things. Negative 4x, that's a positive 16, okay? Now I need to solve for y, not 2y, so I need to get that y by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. Divide everything on this side by 2. Okay, so 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm left with 1y. That's going to be equal to negative 4 divided by 2, which is going to be negative 2x, and then plus 16 divided by 2, plus 8. Now when I graph that, notice that it's in the y equals mx plus b format, right? So I've got y equals, then I've got some m x plus some number by itself, okay? Your m, or your slope, is always going to be attached to the x. So I'm going to start at positive 8, which is my b. So 2, 4, 6 is actually a little bit too small. 8 would be just above. Positive 8. Then I'm going to go, the slope says down 2, and then right 1. Negative 2 over 1 is the same thing as negative 2 by itself. Negative 2 divided by 1 is still negative 2. So I just write it over 1 because my slope is going to be rise over run. So down 2, 1, 2, right 1. So there's another point. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. Down 2, right 1. I can keep doing that as long as I want to do it. Okay? And that should make my straight line right there. So that is my linear equation graphed on number 1. Let's go ahead and do 2 more of these. Let's do number 3 and then number 4. Okay? Alright, so number 3. I want to get that y by itself, because if we're going to graph, we need y to be by itself. So I'm going to add 3x to both sides, plus 3x, plus 3x. So I've got y equals, I've got a total of 6 x's here, plus 6. So there's my 6 x's. It's 3x plus 3x. Alright, and I've already got y by itself. It's ready to go. So let's graph this. Here's my mx plus b. So with that b, I just start at positive 6, 1, or 2, 4, start at positive 6. And then I'm going to go up 6 over 1. Now you can estimate, because look, this is way too small of a graph to actually fit this. We could change our scale. We should have changed our scale earlier. Okay? But we're going to go ahead and just estimate. So if I went up 6 over 1, I'm guessing it'd be right around here. But if it's over there, that means we can also go down 6 and left 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, left 1. There's another point. Then down 6 more, left 1. Okay, so there's our line. Alright, and let's do number 4. Just one more practice problem. Alright, so I've got 3x plus 1/2 y equals negative 4. If I'm going to graph this, again, I want to solve for the 1/2 y. So first thing I'm going to do is subtract that 3x, so minus 3x from both sides. So I'm going to be left with 1/2 y equals negative 3x minus 4. See, so these are two separate things again. So I just brought the negative 3x down, and I also brought the negative 4 down. Alright, so when you see a 1/2 y, it's the same thing as saying y divided by 2. Most of the time, I'll just put this y up on the top with whatever number's up there. Okay, so this is the same thing as saying y divided by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2 to get rid of that. So multiply this side by 2, and multiply this side by 2. So I'm going to have 2 times 1/2 y is just going to be 1y equals, which is our goal, 2 times negative 3x, so I'm distributing into this parentheses. 2 times negative 3x, so that's negative 6x. Then 2 times negative 4, minus 8. Then if I'm going to graph that, here, let's change our scale this time. Instead of having a 2 there and a 2 there, I'm going to make this into a 0. Let's say this is, let's go with this being 2. This being 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, so on and so forth, and the same on the y-axis. So let's say I have 2 here, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That'll make our graph fit a little bit better. So I'm starting at negative 8, so negative 2, 4, 6, 8, starting here, and I'm going to go down 6, right 1. I can put that over 1 because negative 6 divided by 1 is the same thing as negative 6 by itself. Okay? So down 6, 2, 4, 6, right 1. Which is the same thing as going up 6, 2, 4, 6, left 1. 2, 4, 6, left 1. 6, left 1. So there's my line. Okay, so hopefully this is helping some. Let's go ahead and let's look at the back. Let's see if there's anything on the back that's worth noting. Let's go ahead and solve some of these on the bottom for y and talk about the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept. Alright, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So if I'm going to solve for y, again, want to get this by itself. So I'm going to get rid of that 2x, minus 2x, minus 2x. So I'm going to have 4y is going to come down. Those are going to cancel. And I'm going to have equals negative 2x plus 12. Just like that. Now I'm going to divide by 4. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. I'm going to have y equals 1/2, negative 1/2 x plus 3. Just like that. Okay, so now my slope is going to be negative 1 over 2. So I'm going to go down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. Okay, that's what that slope means, negative 1 over 2. And the slope is always going to be connected to that x. The y-intercept is going to be when x equals 0. So if we plug in 0 for x, then we're going to have a positive 3. Y is going to be positive 3. The x-intercept is very similar. We can solve it by plugging in 0 for y. It's wherever the line is going to hit the x-axis. And I'll show you by graphing it here in a second. Alright, if y equals 0, then we can solve for x. Alright, and it's going to be a little bit of work. I guess I'll write it. I'll start over here and solve it on this side real quick. So let's put a line there to keep ourselves a little organized. So if y equals 0, then we'd have 0 equals negative 1/2 x plus 3. So I'd move that 3 to the other side, so I've got negative 3 equals negative 1/2 x. So I'm going to have x equals positive 6. Or if I multiply by negative 2, then it's going to get rid of that negative 1/2 x. So positive 6. Now let's go ahead and graph and see if that's true. So let's graph this equation right here. So I'm going to start at positive 3. And then I'm going to go down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. Down 1, right 2. And sure enough, looks like I'm hitting my y-axis at positive 3, just like this says, and I'm hitting my x-axis at positive 6. Okay, so I think that should do it right there. Actually, let's go ahead and solve one more. I thought my computer was out of batteries, but it's not. So let's go ahead and solve this negative y. I want to deal with this. This is actually really good. I'm not going to talk about the slope, the y-intercept, or even graphing. But I'm going to solve this negative y. Notice that's a negative y. There's a negative attached to it, okay? So when we subtract this 3x and we want to get y by itself, subtract 3x from each side, what's coming down is a negative y, all right? That's going to be equal to negative 3x minus 2. Now I've got to divide by negative 1. And when I divide by negative 1, all it's going to do is flip the signs of every single thing that's in this equation, okay? So watch what happens to the sign. At first I had negative y, negative 3, and negative 2. Now the signs are going to be y equals, because negative 1 divided by negative 1 is positive 1. Negative 3 divided by negative 1 is going to be positive 3x. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is going to be positive 2. So notice it just switched all those signs. See how it switched them all? Okay. So hopefully you feel a little more confident after watching this video for solving and solving for y and then graphing. What I would recommend is maybe printing out the worksheet that's going to be right next to this video and doing it on your own. And then if you need help, you can come in for one of my tutoring times, or you can rewatch this video. Okay, so good luck.